first takeaway, great match, right? I mean, that was both guys did what they were supposed to do. There was, if you're training, if you ever want to be a fighter, I guess let's say this. If you're 9, 10, 11 years old and you're watching fight and Gus is your favorite fighter, you think, I want to do this someday. I want to be just like him. That's going to be really hard to do. I'll just tell you right now. You can go learn those punches and those kicks, but Gus does things that can't be taught. You cannot teach a light heavyweight to be 6'3". You can't teach a light heavyweight to move his feet and move laterally, side to side to side, never forward, never straight back, side to side, left and right. Then he puts the punches and kicks in. Then he's got incredible cardio and can do this all night long. Gus is a really intimidating fight. And I fought Michael Bisping. And I make the comparison of the two in that neither one of them is really looking to go shut your lights off. They're looking to go and hurt you, to hit you and to kick you over and over all night long. It's a really intimidating thing to be in there with somebody like that. So Anthony goes in and he steps in, and you can look at the X's and O's on paper, right? We have seen that big tall guy versus a shorter, more powerful guy. We've seen that matchup, and the recipe's pretty simple. Big guy's got to keep his feet moving, keep him at the end of punches. Little guy, get inside, go to the body, come upstairs with power shots. Yeah, I get it. To the point of nausea, to the point that it's boring. But it's also true. And that's why you always hear that when you got one guy with a meaningful height and reach over another guy who's a more stocky and more powerful by comparison. It's just true. So they have what I will call, for lack of a better term, I despise the term feeling out process, but I must use it. They have a bit of a feeling out process for the first couple of rounds. About 8 or 9 or 10 minutes where they're both trying to get used to this. Gus is trying to get used to going left and going right while keeping something in Anthony's face, and Anthony's used to trying to slip those punches and come in and get some shots off himself. Surprisingly, where Anthony was doing his best work with range was with some of his kicks. He would miss his punches and then land a kick right to Gus's head. That was a little bit of a surprise. And somewhere right around that 8, 9, 10 minute mark, Anthony started going backwards. And that was a big surprise. Look, you cannot give up reach on a guy, not have the movement and the footwork advantage on a guy, and go backwards. It is the trifecta for a disaster to happen. And he started to have some rough minutes. I'm talking about Anthony. He started to have some rough minutes. They end up in a scramble. Gus gets on top, basically finishes the round there. That's the only round that was really clear. Now, I think that the judges, I haven't seen those official scorecards. I think that Gus had probably won each round. They were just close. That's all I'm arguing for. In case you missed it, they were just very competitive rounds. But they were favoring Gus. Going to the fourth round, it's more of the same, except all of a sudden Anthony's not backing up anymore. I don't know why he started doing that. He started to have a few bad moments where now Gus is really taking control. Had the reach, had the movement, and now he's backing him up. Not good. Somewhere in between with the corners, that gets worked out. Now it's starting to look a little bit more like the first and second round, which is just a dogfight, but Gus is maybe being a little bit busier. So they get another dust up, clinched up, wrestling exchange. Anthony comes out on top. Gus never moved again. That's a slight exaggeration by me, but only slight. I mean, Gus never moved again. And it was very peculiar for me as a guy who's followed Alexander Gustafsson's career, seen every one of his fights. He's hell to keep down, right? I mean, see Daniel Cormier versus Gus. He's hard to get there, but he's really hard to keep there. Go see John Jones versus Gus, part 1. Hard to get there, really, really hard to keep him. He can protect himself. He knows how to use that length. He knows how to stretch you out with the legs. He knows how to get distance. He knows how to scramble back up to his feet. So when I tell you that it was noticeable that Gus never moved again, while I am exaggerating, boy, by Gus's standards, he never moved again. He got taken down, face down, never went to guard, no half guard, none of this business. Looked like he was trying to push up to his feet. Even looked like Anthony was slipping off the side a little bit. Anthony's hips weren't perfectly where they needed to be. Anthony was saving himself by being under the armpits. So he was able to maintain that position. And then it just kind of went bad to worse for Gus, where it looked as though he was trying to build up and he had a cage there to help him. Now, the cage can go both ways, but in this position, this was going to help him. He just never moved. He just simply never moved. And all of a sudden, Anthony's hips that were on the side, now all of a sudden they're dead center, creates a lot of weight and pressure, flattens Gus out. Gus is now going the wrong way, going the other way. And eventually Anthony finds a choke that Gus never tapped to, just went all the way out. And I was watching as a viewer going, Gus, that was a really good fight. You were winning the rounds, right? You're winning the rounds. It's 2 top 5 guys on earth. And you just won multiple rounds. Gus is looking really good, but there's a spot and a position, which was him being on bottom, which was reminiscent of his previous fight, which happened to be against John Jones, a position we had seen him in many times before in the previous fight with John Jones, and he did just fine there. But when John got on top, Gus offered little to no resistance, little to no defense or offense. And he did it again. And I was thinking, something's going on. There's something going on with Gus that we don't know about. Whether he's got a rib out or he's got some kind of an injury, some kind of something that is making it hard for him in those spots. That's what it appeared to me as the viewer. And I think that I'm right. And I will also tell you, we'll probably never know. But I think I'm right on that. Okay, fast forward. Story's not done. Gus then up and retires. He says, you know what? I'm retired. I just don't have it anymore in me anymore. And that's always a tough thing to react to. I mean, you got to take a guy at his word. This is a volunteer army. Nobody has to be in there. He's currently a main event in a sold-out arena with a top 5 ranking fighting another top 5 fighter. I mean, but he won 3 rounds. He won 15, 16 minutes of this fight. Just from where I'm sitting and I'm watching, Gus, you most certainly do have it. You look great. But I don't want to argue with you. Perhaps my initial hypothesis that he's dealing with an injury is false and it's simply an effort issue. And when he's on bottom, he goes, I don't want to get up. I just don't want to do it. Too hard. Takes too much work. I don't want to do it anymore. Maybe that's how we're to interpret that. And by the way, I hope that because of my tone, I don't sound critical at all, because I'm not. I really enjoyed this match. I just get a frustration, I think, for the athlete. I'm frustrated for Gus. If he feels as though he doesn't have it anymore, when he just sold out an arena in a main event in front of his hometown against a top 5 guy. Oh, and by the way, he just won 3 rounds. There's only 5 rounds in the whole contest. He just won 3 of them. That would be where I'd want to push back and go, Gus, make sure you give yourself some credit. That was a hard ask to fight Anthony Smith. The reason that you got asked to do it is because nobody else wanted to. And you won a lot of minutes at what you do really well. You moved left, you moved right, you took big power shots, you stayed on your feet. There ended up being a scramble where he got taken down and then was frozen in that position. If that is a physical thing, boy, we could fix that real fast. Real fast. A lot of ways to fix that if it's physical. If it's mental, and it's something where, listen, I've fired my bullets. I don't have any more in the chamber. I'm tired. I just don't want to do it mentally. Oof. Hats off. I get it. And good for you for coming to terms with it. Good for you for realizing it, coming to terms with it. And if he does, in fact, step away, step away. It just seems to me as though this may be a situation, okay, where he needs give him some time. He went from world title fight. He came off a long injury, goes right into a world title fight, right back in front of his hometown. I mean, there was a lot of pressure. There's a lot of things happening there. And physically, he looked the same. He looked very good, aside from one position. So maybe he just needs a minute.